as promised. Today I'm going to be talking with people who consider themselves to be conservatives, right? That's how you identify with yourself, and I guess this is me talking to you. And then tomorrow we're going to be doing the same thing, but for liberals, right? But the exercise here is without judgment, without any kind of attitude about it. I wanted to let you know that just somebody who's not against you but also not with you, just sort of like another person out here, I wanted to share a little bit about what you look like. So if you find you're getting resistance from people, it may not be because they don't understand or whatever. There may be other elements of what you are doing or being out in the world that you're not aware of. And so my intention is not to tell you how to be, how to think, or what to do, but instead I want you to just sort of be able to sit and be like, oh, so this is what I look like to somebody else who didn't come from the same town that I came from, doesn't watch all the same things that I watch, doesn't follow the same pages, And so what happens is then you and I might come from different backgrounds and we're looking at the same situation, but I look at different parts of it than you do, or you look at, or maybe you're familiar with some element of it that I'm not familiar with, or, you've been hurt by something or whatever that causes you to pay close attention to certain things, which is great, except the same thing is true for me and the same thing is true for everyone else. So it's real easy to get real caught up in your own point of view and sort of miss the forest for the trees. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I'm saying if it is what's happening, there's some pretty bad consequences, right? So let's say that you do feel like, the world is in crisis and we got to do something big or whatever. I think a lot of people feel that way, no matter what side of any issue that they're on. We're all sort of feeling that. So I think first thing, I think that there's a way that we can all come together in the fact that none of us feel good about what's happening here. So with that set in mind, I'm not here to, I'm here as a fellow citizen on the planet, another human being. I want things to get better for everybody, and that means you too. So one of the things that, I think about when I look at somebody like Trump, right? We're going to talk about Trump today. We'll talk about Biden tomorrow. We'll talk about some other stuff after that. But when I look at this guy, I remember back when I was a kid seeing him in what do you call it? Home Alone 2, right? So Donald Trump has been in my sphere since the 80s, the 90s, right? And so when I think about how is a better world going to happen? What does that look like? It doesn't look like soldiers marching down the street. It doesn't look like police busting into your home, whether they're taking your weed, whether they're taking your guns, whether they're taking your family members and putting them in prison. A better world doesn't look like any of that to me, no matter who it's happening to, right? And when I think about if there's a really complicated problem that's got to get solved, right? So let's say it's something complicated like you got to fix a car or something, right? Well, a lot of times with a complicated problem, you have to have a complex solution, right? Or a solution that takes into account all the complex factors. Otherwise, if it's a car, you're not going to get that car to run, right? You can just say, oh, just slap a little oil on it, slap a little gas in it, we're good to go. But if that's not what's the problem is, you can put as much gas as you want in it, and it's still not going anywhere. And so when it comes to stuff like that, I start thinking about processes. And when I think about not just Trump, but the whole vibe that the guy carries with him, that doesn't tell me that this is somebody who is capable of, or even interested in, this guy doesn't care about nuanced problems and solutions that account for other people. But I'm if I want a government to do anything, that's what I want it to do. I don't need it to keep me safe. I think that keeping people safe is a lot easier when people are taken care of, when we're not forcing people into stuff or threatening them with violence. Then everyone's kind of safer. And then if we do have differences, there's a lot of other ways we can sort them out. But I don't hear any kind of constructive dialogue. There's no not out of that camp, right? Out of the Trump camp and all that. I don't hear anything that sounds to me like a compassionate human sort of voice or thought process. There's none of that there. There's, when I don't see a lot of listening or any apologizing when there's a mistake made. And these are all things that just in life, let alone, like these are things that I want a business to do. If they make a mistake or whatever, I want them to just be clear about it and fix their mistake, right? No big deal. We're all human. If a person makes a mistake or whatever, or if a person is trying to solve a problem, but they're not listening to other people, they just think they got it. And I don't got to listen to anyone else because I got it. That kind of mentality does not sound to me like the kind of thought process that's going to get real problems solved in a crisis, let alone one where that it's scales an entire country and in a larger scale the entire planet. So like, I don't look at somebody like Biden or Trump and think that either of these people are even capable or interested in having the kinds of discussions that you have to have in order to fix real problems. And so if there's no intention of listening, there's no intention of growing or evolving, there's no intention of like addressing subtle problems with subtle attitudes, addressing delicate issues with a delicate touch. Like if you have somebody doing surgery on you, you want them to use delicate tools for the delicate parts and be gentle with your body. Meanwhile, if they got to saw open a bone, then you want them to have the tools and the ability to do that too. But you don't want them cutting on you only with a saw or only with a scalpel, right? Depending on what the deal is, you want them to like take seriously all the little details and take care of those details. And then that's how you get like a good outcome where like, oh, we had a problem, we addressed it with care and intention, and then we got it solved. And I just don't see any of that mentality. I don't hear it. I listen carefully and I don't hear any of that. And so for me, that's the sort of thing where you're going to get resistance right out of the gate from me, because I don't see that kind of attitude, that kind of talk, and that kind of the way of doing things. I don't see that fixing a world that's troubled with violence. I don't see that kind of bitter attitude, that me against you. Like people have been using that all over the world throughout history, and it always produces the same thing, more trauma. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we've got a long history and plenty of examples of different ways to be violent toward each other, to be aggressive toward each other. And frankly, I feel like everyone's kind of tired of it. And more than that, if you seriously want to live in a better world, I don't think you can be serious about it while ignoring other people's needs, ignoring other people's voices. Like, let's just be serious about it. Like, that's not how things work, right? Your phone, the phone that you're watching me on, or TV you're watching me on, like, you can't just willy-nilly that into existence. It has to happen with a lot of different people coming together with different backgrounds, different viewpoints, different skills, and all of that comes together to make it possible for like a cell phone to happen, or for a societal problem to get fixed. But like, it's just not going to happen through violence, and it's not going to happen by just ignoring each other and brute strength. And I don't know of any time I've ever seen real progress, real solutions, real peace made out of that vibe, out of that intention, that attitude. When I see problems getting solved, I see people putting down their egos, putting down their anger, putting down their agendas, and saying, hey, I want the world to be better. I'm going to set down my stuff, and I'm going to come and see what it takes to actually make it better according to everybody. So that's what I'm looking for. And if I don't see that, it's not getting my support. So it doesn't matter if it's MAGA or if it's liberals or whatever. If it's not that, it doesn't get my support. All right. So tomorrow, we're going to talk to liberals about why conservatives may not be interested in some of your issues, and why you may be looking a little different than you think you are to other people. And so we get to explore this. You guys can tell me what I look like to you. I'm sure there are all kinds of things, some of them flattering, maybe some of them not so much, but we're all in this together, like it or not, and see if we can make it better. Bye.